What is up? Dom Zvada. So excited to have a Wolverine on the podcast today.
Yeah, super excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. Well, I usually like to start off with asking my guests what they're all about. It could be super serious, maybe a life hack, a new food you like. I know you're in the thick of football right now, but what are you all about right now?
Now, right now I'm all about Clash of Clans.
Okay.
The whole specialist room. We got some of the guys that've never played it before got it, so we got a whole room going. So it's been a lot of fun. So that's what we've been doing during camp, trying to keep the mood high and stuff like that.
You just threw me back with the Clash of Clans because that's something my siblings would play like years ago. So is that
Yeah.
new for you or new for the other guys?
No, it's new. It's not new to me, but some of the guys in the room, it's kind of fun because they have no idea what they're doing. So we get to kind of point them in the right direction. So they're super fun. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's so fun. I never was into all those games, but it was Plants vs Zombies that I was like, okay, that's my one game that I would
Yeah,
always
Plants
play.
vs Zombies was a good one back in the day.
That's so good. I love that. I know my siblings would always play with my dad played football and they would sometimes play with his teammates because they'd be almost closer in age to them than him.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a game that has bonded a lot of people, and not just your specialist group, which I'd love to ask you about a little bit later. But I do want to just talk about being a kicker because it's a position that people think it's a lot easier than it looks. And that's why it's so awesome what Pat McAfee does on College Game Day, right?
Yeah.
He makes people kick
Yeah.
a field goal. So
Yeah.
I'd love to know, when did your kicking journey begin?
So I'll start, early on in my life. I was a soccer player my whole life. Played soccer throughout elementary school, middle school, and high school, played for my high school team, and didn't really start kicking until junior year of high school. Kind of when the pandemic started and a lot of free time. I decided, why not go out and try and do this? I went to a small high school, so we didn't really have anyone in that position on the football team. So my head coach was like, "Hey, can you try and do this?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll go out there." And obviously having a lot of time, going out there and working with it. I wasn't very good to start off with, as most people aren't when they start with something new. But luckily, I got in contact with a family friend who played at Arizona State. His name is Steve Roush, and he really kind of projected me in the right direction. And he's an awesome coach and someone who I still contact pretty daily, pretty regularly. And he's been a great mentor and someone who has really helped me throughout high school, going to camps, putting me in the right, pushing me in the right direction, ultimately helping me get my college offer. And from that point on, it's been college ball and transferring, and now we're here at Michigan. So it's been a pretty crazy career and something that I didn't really think would ever happen. Starting, I didn't know I was going to be in this position when I started. So being here now has been a true blessing and something I don't take for granted.
So cool. I love to hear that. And I love that you just said, I wasn't really good when I started out because I think a lot of young athletes and lot of young kids think, oh, because I'm not the best player on my middle school team, like,
Yeah.
it's not going to go well for me. And when I picked up a lacrosse stick, which is the sport I played in college, I was so bad. Like I could not catch the ball. Like I was
Yeah.
like, I don't even know how I like got through my first like intro camp. What
Yeah.
advice would you maybe give someone who's maybe trying a new position, or they have to volunteer and be the goalie for their team,
Yeah.
or they get asked to be kicker? What advice would you give them?
I mean, I would say, kind of what you said. Things aren't gonna go your way as you start. And you kind of have to, if you truly believe that that's something that you want to do and something that you're passionate about, don't let anyone else tell you differently. And in high school, I had a lot of people that kind of told me, why are you still doing this? I wasn't very good my junior year of high school playing in those games. And I had a lot of people telling me, why are you still doing it? You're never going to really do anything. And I knew deep down that it's something I was really passionate about and something that I knew that could eventually lead me somewhere good. So I kept sticking with it. And yeah, that's the advice I'd give to someone is if you're truly passionate about it, don't let anyone tell you otherwise, and stick to your passions and surround yourself with people who are going to build you up and not bring you down.
Well, good thing you stuck with it. Like, come on,
I know,
Michigan.
right?
Thank gosh, that's awesome. I'd love to know, just like looking back and thinking about your early days kicking, is there a memory or like a baller kick you made, maybe in a youth game growing up, that you think about it and you're like, man, that was just a highlight of my life?
Yeah, I do go back. Well, so I talked about me being pretty bad my junior year. I only made 2 kicks out of my 10 attempts my junior year. Um, which, I get where people were coming from when they said you should stop, but luckily I didn't. But one of those kicks came from 55 yards, which was just like out of nowhere. And it was funny because that was the one weekend that my parents decided to take a little getaway by themselves, and I was stuck with the grandparents. So it was the only game that they didn't make, and it's I hit that field goal, and it was super cool and super fun to finally be like, okay, yeah, I did something positive for the team, and kind of gave me a little bit more confidence and was like, okay, I'm not just, the guy that can only do it in practice. I can finally do it in the game. And that's just something that sticks with me. And my grandpa will send me the clip every once in a while because he was at that game and he was super proud of me. And it's super cool to be able to share those moments with him and reminisce and stuff like that. So that's something I'll never forget.
Yeah, what a special moment just for you and your grandparents too, to be able to have that bond. And I guess you
Yeah.
can always come back to that and be like, hey, that's where it started. But I'd love
For
to
real.
know a little bit about your experience at Arkansas State because that's where you did start your college football experience. But now you're at Michigan, right? So is there anything that sticks out to you from your time there that has really prepared you and maybe helped you now at Michigan?
Yeah, so I think I got really lucky with where I ended up. I had I tell a lot of people that I really only had one offer out of high school, and that was Arkansas State. And that's because they were truly the only ones that really wanted me to be there. And so I felt very wanted. And that's ultimately why I went there. The head coach there, Butch Jones at the time, was still the head coach there, Butch Jones, and the coordinator at the time, Jake Schoonover, and Cody Schexnayder, were super great, welcomed me in. And it was hard being away from home, being from Arizona, moving all the way to Arkansas. I did get homesick quite a bit my freshman year, and they were really cool about, really helpful whenever they could tell I was being down and missed home or something like that. And they were always there for me more than just football. It was they cared about my life and they cared about my interests, and they wanted me to feel like I was part of the family, which I was. And so, when I ultimately started fall camp and stuff like that, everything that they told me, I took as completely true, and I knew that they were going to tell me the truth, and I started building confidence, stuff like that, and they would instill that confidence in me, and I think just being a part of a group where it's genuine and it's trust and all that stuff really helps someone out, especially a player whose position is so mental focused. I think they were the perfect fit for what I needed at that point, and just our head coach was really special teams driven. So being at a team that really valued special teams and the kickers and the punters and the snappers was huge for me, and I think really helped me kind of jumpstart my career there.
That's awesome. You mentioned homesickness, and I think that's something that a lot of people, whether you play a sport or not, it's hard
Yeah.
just going to college. And I
Yeah.
went to school 20 minutes down the road from my house. Okay. So like people are like, oh, you got homesick. But I'm like, yeah, like I love being around my family. Like I love being home. I had younger siblings. Like there
Mhm.
was a lot of factors that went into it. Obviously not the difference that you had with that distance, but maybe besides your coaches, encouraging you and being supportive, what advice or like what helped you get through that time? And maybe it just was hard, sometimes
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, there is no way out. But what helped
Yeah.
you in that transition to college?
Well, I'll say, first getting there, the first week or two were really tough, especially being someone who committed so late because the rest of the freshman class had already kind of been communicating. They all committed in December, November, and January, so they were all kind of tight already. And I think joining that late kind of hard was hard. And but eventually, as you get that community, especially the freshman class, all living together was super important for me. Finding some community, outside the facility and football was super nice, and be able to just go down the hallway and pop into one of my friends' rooms, and being able to just hang out and talk would make me forget about all the problems I was going with. And I think that's something that I would tell some freshman athletes and freshman students when they get to college is find some community, find some people who are similar, had take similar interests, and just build a relationship with them, and because it's going to help out. It's going to be good, especially when times get tough. You want those people next to you to help you push through those hard times.
Yeah, and you don't even know. Everybody's probably feeling similarly, right? It's like
Yeah,
just opening up to your friends too, because you're probably all a little homesick, right?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's not, I don't feel like that's a spot in life to be like tough guy, you know? It's like, oh no, like I miss my mom, like say it, you know?
Yeah, right.
Like
Yeah.
whatever it is. But last September, you actually got to play Arkansas State, now at Michigan. What was that like?
Uh, I mean, when I committed here, I knew that that was going to be real. And the whole summer, that was all I was really thinking about. Obviously, we had big games and stuff like that. But that was actually the game I was most nervous about going into. Just because I'm like, man, I really don't want to. I mean, it's the team I left, the team I decided I don't really want to be a part of anymore. And I didn't want them to be like, "Oh yeah, we don't need you anymore. We upgraded because you left." And so I was really nervous, and that's kind of what I was going through my head. And looking back on it now, that wasn't the case. But it was super cool to be able to do that. Not a lot of people get to do that or have that opportunity. So when the day came. I'm out there on the field, kind of just mind my own business, doing my meditation before the game, and all of a sudden I see them walking onto the field, and what they do before every game and what the head coach does is they circle the logo of whatever team they're playing, and they circle up and they pray. And so I got to I wasn't a part of that, but I did sit on the bench and kind of participated in my own little thing. So and then all of them are looking at me and kind of giving me the death stare. I'm just like, hi. But as after the game and even before the game, when they all went to the locker room, I got a little opportunity to say hi to the coaches and just say, it wasn't personal at all, anything like that. But they were super awesome, and Butch is someone who I really after football is done, someone I want to keep in contact with, and all the other coaches too. Such great guys, and be able to say hi and just give them a cool little handshake. And even after the game, say good luck on the rest of your season, stuff like that was super special to me, and I was super happy that I got that opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just because, you're in game mode, so you're gonna have that, like those death stares, like, makes sense. Like you're competing at an incredibly high level and
Right.
a lot's at stake and you spend your entire day. I mean, you're in the summer here training for those games, right? Like there's a lot that goes into it. So those emotions are real, but I think it was really special that you probably got to see that team prayer. It
Yeah.
probably like in a way, and I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but like set your heart up, your heart posture right for seeing
Mhm.
those guys as like
Yeah.
your guy friends and not
Yeah.
as just an enemy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you kind of they all walk down, they're all kind of looking serious and stuff like that. And like I said, that kind of narrative that I had in my head was they all don't like me. And they don't want anything to do with me. And once they circle up and I kind of get that perspective again, it's like, oh, it's just a game. And these guys are awesome and it's more than football. They're more than just football players. They're guys of faith and being able to talk to them after the game, I knew that that was not the case, that narrative that I had in my head. So, yeah, it kind of just put perspective back in my brain that, this isn't all that we're doing. It was more of football than us.
That's cool. I love that story. And we never would have known that from social media, right? We never would have known that from just looking at the team schedule. So thank you for sharing that. But I've actually never been to a Michigan football game. So could you just describe what that atmosphere is like?
I mean, yeah, it's the largest stadium in North America. I think the third in the world. It's pretty unreal. Our student section I think is like 30,000 people strong. And they fill
That's
that.
not normal.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and they fill that thing up too. So, if you're in that part of the stadium, you're gonna really hear it if you're the opposing team. And yeah, it's crazy. And I remember the first time I was walking down that stadium, you go through the tunnel, and the you could just kind of see the bleachers, and it just keeps rising, keeps going up, and you're like, when is this gonna end? And you finally get to the end, and it's like, oh, we're all the way here. So, it's crazy and something that I don't take for granted at all. We have, I think, the best fans in the world. So being able to play in front of them every Saturday is something that I truly enjoy doing. And yeah.
That's a lot of fans. And so I'm curious, what's something that even the biggest Michigan football fan doesn't know about your team, this 2025 team? Or if you want to make it more specific, the specialist group.
Oh,
Besides
um,
Clash of Clans, because now
yeah.
we know.
Besides Clash of
I'm not gonna
Clans.
make you drop the username, but I don't want people playing with you guys.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Something that I think something about our team. We have a bowling alley in our locker room, which is kind of weird, but really cool. We have a lot of like really good bowlers on our team. A lot of guys
Okay.
that like can constantly bowl over 200, which is kind of crazy. We'll be in meetings and all of a sudden we'll go down there and there's always someone throwing them down. So that's something interesting. Yeah, I mean that's about all I got. I don't really know anything
Uh,
off the top of my head,
Yeah,
but
that's also not normal. A bowling alley in the facility. So who's the best on the team?
probably Bryce Underwood. He's got his own ball and his own case and everything, and he carries it
There's
around.
no way.
He's
His own
proud of it. Yeah,
case.
I mean, he's an athlete, so he's yeah. We had a little competition at the beginning of camp. All the position groups kind of squatted up. We had three per position group, three players, and we all bowled, and whoever got the highest score won. We have a belt that the winner gets to keep for the entire year. And I don't think the quarterbacks won, but I think Bryce did really good, and he kind of put the team on his back. But um, yeah, we have a lot of guys that we're just like, really, like you also like can do that. So I mean, these guys can do pretty much anything athletically, so it's pretty unreal to watch.
And I gotta imagine that the bowling ball is like, I'm thinking of like I don't even know the last time I went bowling, but I'd probably grab like an 8 or a 10, like whatever the number was. I mean, for your like lineman, it's
Yeah.
gotta be like a 50.
Oh yeah, they're throwing these boulders down there. And so, yeah, and I'm sure that's something they can kind of take their anger out of too. Just chuck a ball down the lane as fast as they can.
Are the side things up? Do you guys have those?
No,
Or is it,
no,
oh
never.
no, you're
No.
like legit adulting.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, you know what? Now I know I'm never gonna bowl against any Michigan football players because I know that they'll be I know that they'll be
Maybe
really
against
good
me,
about
but
it.
I'm not very good. But everyone else, yeah, probably.
That's awesome. Well, I love to know those things because you also would never know that. But just more off the field preparation, I would argue that especially for your position, the mental side of the game has got to
Mm.
be huge, right? And I heard you say one time that you actually use like EA college football to help you
Yeah,
practice kicking. So can
yeah.
you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, so yeah, I do use the game, especially for road games when we're going to play somewhere I've never been before, just to kind of pick out visualization points. And that's a big thing for me is visualization. I'll sit in my room or wherever I'm at, if I'm in the hotel or something like that, put up some meditation music, and I'll just close my eyes and I'll visualize the stadium, and visualize myself in front of me. And I like to watch myself play and watch myself kick, and I envision myself kicking it and then obviously going through. And I do that a lot. So being able to visualize my success before I go out onto the field. It's almost like I've been there before when I get into that situation and I know what to do and I know I'm a lot calmer. And like I was talking about with when we play Arkansas State, before the games I go out there and I meditate. And I sit there and listen to some classical music. And yeah, I don't play rap or anything like that in my headphones. I usually listen to like either classical or some meditation music, um, or even some gospel music. But I'll go out there and I'll meditate and I'll think and just kind of try and put myself in situations I know that a game could throw at me. Like I said, so that it's like I've been there before and I know what to do. Because the specialists really only get one opportunity, and we got to make the most of it every time. So we got to be ready for every shot we get.
Yeah, and I bet just even understanding and like seeing, even if it's on a picture, what that stadium's going to look like has got to be so helpful. I'll never forget we played our first game that we ever played in Northwestern's like indoor facility. I was so intimidated because it was a new environment, I hadn't seen it, and there was
Yeah,
so much purple all around me. I
yeah,
was like it was
yeah.
like the amount of purple honestly was just the thing, and even thinking just now, like, what a football stadium would look like,
Mhm,
that on steroids, and so
mhm.
it's just cool to hear how you use that mental preparation and even for something like a video game, like, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think that's so cool, but can you just walk me through your, like, pre-kick routine, maybe from even, like, when you're on the sideline watching the drive go down?
Yeah, so, usually, if we're in our own side of the field, I'm usually sitting on the bench and, I don't really have a set routine for, when I'm not kicking, in terms of, like, staying loose and stuff like that. It's kinda just like whenever I feel my legs just start to get tight, I'll get up and do some stretching make sure that I'm always kind of staying loose. Once we kinda get to the, 40-yard line to our 50-yard line, I'm like, "Alright, just probably start, doing some walk around a little bit, do some I don't know, high knees or something like that, get a Theragun and kind of get my legs loose some more. And once we pass 50, I'm like, all right, it's gonna, I'm already mentally preparing, like I'm going in the game now. Like it's gonna happen. And so, once we get past the 50, I'm thinking, yeah, we're gonna go into the game. And from that point on, I'm kicking in the net every couple of drives and usually or every couple of plays. And usually when I get the third down, I'll do one more and then I'm right next to Coach Moore and Coach JB and I'm all right, whenever you need me, I'm ready to go. So and when I'm running on the field, I usually try and run as little as possible. I try to walk as much as I can because I try to keep the heart rate down as much as I can. And so walking out there or, lightly jogging, I guess, keeps the heart rate down. And I just take my 3 steps back and I take my 2 steps to the side. And then I let out a deep breath and then I give them the nod and then we go. And at that point, it's all muscle memory. And I'm trying to think about one specific thing in order to take my mind off of the whole situation, the whole scenario that's going on. So I'm not thinking, don't miss this kick, don't miss this kick. I'm thinking, all right, just look at my holder's hand, and as soon as hand goes up, that's when I go. So, and then that kind of blocks out all the other noise. But after that, it's, muscle memory, and then hopefully the kick goes through, and we're all good, running back to the sideline, all happy.
Yeah, well, you make it sound a lot simpler than it is, but it's so interesting to hear about the heart rate because that's definitely a huge thing. And I never would have thought about just that jog from the sideline to where you're kicking the ball is because, yeah, like there's a lot going on, especially in the heat of a moment
Yeah.
when the game could be on the line. But I do want to talk about a game that was on the line. Last season, you kicked the game winner against Ohio State in the regular season to win the game 13-10. Can you just walk me through maybe? I know you said your pre kick routine already, but in that moment, there
Yeah.
had to be a couple other thoughts that were going through your mind.
Um, Yeah, so I mean that was a really, really cold game. I think the wind chill was like 5 or 6 degrees. And so unless I was like pretty certain that I was going in soon, I was sitting on the heated bench with the jacket on, trying to stay warm. But yeah, I knew that we were going to get an opportunity. I'd been telling myself all season that I was going to get an opportunity to win us a game, and fortunately, it came at the biggest game of the year. And so I knew that I was ready for it, and I'd put myself, like I said, visualization, stuff like that. I'd been visualizing myself in that situation. And so, when we get the ball and there's what 3 minutes left and we're already inside of um field goal range, I'm like, I'm ready. I know what I need to do. And so I'm sitting on the sideline. I'm kind of waiting for second down, and then I kind of throw jacket off, go hit a couple into the net. And then we get a first down and throw the jacket back on. And, but then we finally get to a point where it's like, okay, we're probably gonna kick here. And the coach would come up to me, where do you want it? What hash do you want it? I'm like, can you get it down the middle, please? And so like, yeah, we can do that. And then I'm like, yeah, if you can take a timeout too right before we go, so I get as much time as I need to kind of walk out there, and have enough time for me to kind of calm myself down. And luckily, my teammates made it pretty easy for me. It was just a PAT at that point. But I knew that if it would have been more farther than that, I would have been able to do just as well. So that's the kind of trust also that I have in my holder and my snapper, Wags and Tommy did a great job last year, and the whole offensive line did such a great job, not giving me anything to worry about. When a kicker, starts worrying about those sort of things, and that's when, things start to go south. So, not having to worry about that stuff and only having to focus on, that one little thing that I talked about, really makes kicker's job a whole lot easier. So just going out there and putting it through and being able to be a part of that game was super special.
What an awesome moment. And I was just interested because you said you'd want them to call the timeout. And sometimes I feel like when I'm in like a nerve-wracking situation, I'm like, let's just get it over with. Like, let's
Yeah.
go right now. Is that what you would prefer, like to have the timeout?
Yeah, I would. And they were like, "Really, you want a timeout?" Like, it kind of sounds like something that most kickers wouldn't want. Like you said, you want to go out there and just get it over with. But for me, I like to take my time and I like to do things methodically, and being able to give myself another, one or two in the net, and then being able to walk on the field on my own time and get into the spot. Just being very comfortable with where I was at was super important for me. So that's why I decided to do that. And I like taking my time. I like, if we have, I think my routine is like 20 seconds, 25 seconds, which is a lot longer than most kickers. So, being able to, take a couple deep breaths, lower the heart rate down, being able to sit there for a second before I give the nod, is just all things that kind of add up to helping myself feel as comfortable as possible in that moment.
So awesome. And you mentioned earlier just listening to gospel music. And I know you've, posted about your faith on social media. And your team chaplain actually was the one who's like, you got to talk to this guy. So I'd love to know just how you have brought your faith into your football career.
Yeah. So, something I when I got to college, growing up, my parents were very, putting us in Sunday school and putting us in church. And I did Awana when I was a little kid, and stuff like that. So I was always around the church, and I went to a Christian high school, a Christian private high school. So when I got to college, I went to church. I wasn't, as focused on it, and it was something that it took until something like I kind of felt convicted. I was like, I'm kind of slacking off. I'm not really doing what I need to do. And in my second year at Arkansas, I really started going to church a lot more. Started taking stuff more seriously, and started reading my Bible, writing down things in my journal, and I've kind of carried that on. As I got here, I found a church here, and it's the same one that Robbie goes to, so we'll be able to make a really good connection. Um, but yeah, it's something that I implemented into my football, game, because I felt like I always want to, I want to get as much help as I can get, and it's someone that I know I can kind of count on. To be with me, and I know that he's with me all the time. And when I'm on the field and I might be feeling nervous or something like that, it's just calming to know that he's with me, and his presence is on the field. And so I pray before every game. I go and kneel on the goal line, and I pray before every game to give me strength and to thank for the blessings that he's given me throughout the season so far. And yeah, to give me strength throughout this game and give my teammates strength, and pray for no injuries, stuff like that. And what I started doing last season is I wear this heart monitor on my wrist, and you're not really supposed to wear these unless you tape it. So I'll tape around it, and then I'll write a Bible verse that I'm kind of been interested that week. So you can go back and look at pictures, and I've got this white thing around my wrist, and so whenever I'm maybe feeling a little like I don't know how good I'm feeling right now, I can always just look at my wrist, and it'll remind me of why I'm out here, and what I'm ultimately doing. And things are a lot bigger than football, and there's so much more to life than football, and having a bad game or something like that. And being able to play football on Saturdays, and then being able to go to church on Sundays. Sundays is always a great day for me to kind of forget about everything else that has happened that past week, and kind of reset and remember why I'm here, and ultimately what I'm doing, and that's trying to push that to other people and expose that to other people who haven't had the opportunity to learn that. And so yeah, I also listen to gospel music before games sometimes. Sometimes it's the music that really fires you up, and sometimes it's the one that kind of brings you down. But it's all kind of what I'm feeling in the moment. But I know that when I'm listening to it, that it's just a reminder, like I said, of just why I'm here, what my purpose is on this earth, and what I'm doing. So, life's a lot bigger than football. And yeah, I'm trying to just show that to people.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I think what's so great is like those in-game reminders, like whether you're
Hmm.
praying before a big moment or even
Yeah.
setting this tone before the game or looking down at your wrist, like
Hmm.
there's a lot going on and you're
Yeah.
trying to manage like game and time and like your own feelings. So like it's you need sometimes a tangible reminder that's kind of right in front of your face. Even having like a teammate like bring you back and be like,
Yeah.
hey, like, keep your eyes up or
Yeah.
whatever that person, whoever that person is for you. But I also think a huge part of just believers and following the Lord is inviting the Lord into like those moments of preparation. And you just talked for like 20 minutes about all the prep that you do just to do a kick, right? Like
Mhm.
even in game, you're like, I want
Yeah.
as much time before. And so preparation is something that you take super seriously. So I'd love to know just with preparing for battle on the football field, how do you feel like in what's important to you preparing just your life as a believer, before you enter those hard seasons of life?
Yeah. That's a great question. So, I mean, I'll kind of start with Robbie puts on a church service or a little sermon right before Fridays before the games. And it's always a great reminder to kind of forget about everything else that's going on and forget about things that are happening and things that are coming tomorrow. Being able to hear something from Robbie. And yeah, like football, like I said, football is just something that I do. It's not who I am. It's not something that's gonna last forever. And ultimately, we're gonna move on and we're gonna have new things in our life, but something that will always stay the same is my faith, and that's something that I want to continue to push on and show to the next generation and to my kids, and continue to spread the word to people. So just going on to the next phases of life, I know that that will always stay the same, and that's something that I can always rely on and continue to push myself in that area because I know that's never going to go away.
It's so important too. And I feel like for you guys, you're on such a big stage. And if you miss a kick or you lose a game to your rival, like it can really feel like the world is like crashing.
Yeah,
Okay. And so it's so important and crucial for you to understand that like your value and your worth is not determined by what
yeah,
happens on Saturday, right? At
yeah,
noon.
hmm,
Like it's
yeah,
so much bigger than that. And so I'd love to know just with identity in sport and all the just pressure that comes with that. Is there something that throughout your college football experience, or maybe even this past season, the Lord has really taught you or revealed to you that maybe you didn't know, early on in your life?
yeah. Um, I go back to my sophomore year at Arkansas. Like I said, I really started to be more intentional with my faith my second year, and something that really kind of pushed that was just I was living like college student, and I was convicted. I woke up one day and I was like, I knew that what I was doing wasn't something that I should really be doing, and so it kind of I had a down year my sophomore year, but ultimately I felt happier after that sophomore year because not only did I learn a lot on the field, but I also learned a lot about myself off the field, and going to church and being intentional with what I was doing. I knew that after games where I kind of was like, that wasn't my best performance, or I missed a kick or something like that. I knew that I had something to look forward to. I knew I had church the next day, and something that I would tell myself was, you're more than a football player. And that's something that I try to tell and express to people here, after I can tell they're down, they've had not as good of a game. I'll go up to them and be like, hey man, like I understand, like I've been in your shoes before. But you're more than just, one bad performance. You're more than, that player that puts that helmet on you. You're a man of God. And so, you're made in the image of him. And so that usually is something good that remind people and remind players, and they usually are like, "Yeah, man, you're right." Like, you know, and we'll invite them to church the next day, and they'll come and they seem so much better, and they could attack the following week with a different perspective and a different confidence. So, being able to share what I've learned, um, you know, here and with my teammates and my brothers who I love is super important to me and something that hopefully I get to continue to do.
Yeah, it's so important, and it's great that you're able to say that now, right? Because you don't know what's
Right.
going to happen during the season, but it's also hard because you might get pulled back, and you might need people in your life to remind you of that. And so, whether it's a physical reminder or people that you have in your life, you're talking about your team chaplain. It's so important to surround
Mhm.
yourself with those people. But I have one last question for you because I know you got a heavy season coming up, and you're in the thick of it and all those things. So we'll let you go. But what are you most excited for this football season at Michigan?
Oh man, there's so many things to look forward to. When we're talking football, I mean, we got a lot of away games. I enjoy the away games because I enjoy,
You
playing
just
here.
like to play EA Sports. You're just like
Yeah,
more excuses
I
to
like
play
having an
EA.
excuse. I'm sorry, I can't talk. I can't do my homework. I gotta hop on the game. I'm getting ready for the game. So, no, but I enjoy. I love playing here in Ann Arbor, but being able to experience other college atmospheres and go places that I've never really been, is always super fun. And I also like hearing the crowd go quiet after I make a kick. But so I'm super excited to visit all the schools we're going to this year. And then I came back for one final year because I didn't think that I had done enough with the team. I didn't think I achieved what I wanted to with the team yet. And I think we really have a roster and a group of guys and coaches that can really make a push for something great. And so I'm super excited to just be a small part of that and experience everything that Michigan and college football has to offer this year. And I couldn't be more happy to do it with the brothers around me. So that's what I'm super excited to do.
Well, hey, we'll be hoping for quiet away stadiums and hopefully a natty to add to your trophy case. Dom, thank you so much for joining the podcast. So excited to point people to you and go Wolverines.
Yeah, go blue. Thank you.